Also taking live calls at 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak, so save that number. Now, later tonight in sports, it's do or die for the Kenya Sevens rugby team in Singapore. Join sports anchor Micah to find out if Shujaa will survive relegation. Na bila kusahau, tapokea mziki toka DJ wetu machachari mleta habari DJ OmoshFaya, na tutadunda kule viwanjani na Micah jezi yake nambari 7 mgongoni, akituletea habari za michezo. Na moja kwa moja toka Kilimanjaro Studios ni mimi mtangazaji na mwanahabari wako mpendwa Ali Badawy. Wengi wananiita mteule, na kule kwetu mniite mjukuu wa Masai, because I'm Kenyan by blood, American by design, Masai by choice. Sichagui, sikagui na sibagui. Karibuni.
Now, let's talk politics.
Now, this hour we'll actually be speaking to the president of Voice Consortium, Dr. Robert Chiuri, regarding the upcoming Diaspora Investment Expo in DC. We also have the OVC Director for Outreach, Ms. Joy Gacuga, live in studio. Then we also have Ambassador BigTed, the Kenya Consul General in LA, who will also be joining us later. And I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawy. It's Friday the 7th of April, and we are coming to you live from Kilimanjaro Studios outside Washington, D.C. So please remember to subscribe to our OneMic Show YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at OneMic Show. And on panel with me tonight is Mr. Micah on the boards. We have sports anchor Micah who will be joining us via Zoom, and our resident DJ OmoshFaya kama kawaida is live on the decks. And we are going to get started right away because we have so much to cover today. Now, investing back home in Kenya has been a hot button issue for diasporans in the U.S. Now, hundreds of scams targeting diaspora Kenyans have left scars and people's confidence shaken. Now, to help address these concerns, an investment coalition dubbed the Voice Consortium is set to host a one-of-a-kind Diaspora Investor Expo in Washington, D.C. Now, the expo, scheduled for Friday, May the 5th to Sunday, the 7th, will be hosting Kenyans in the diaspora and foreign investors looking for business opportunities between the U.S. and Kenya. Now, expected speakers in the event include the PS for Diaspora Affairs, Ms. Rosalind Jogu, Kenyan Ambassador to the U.S., Balozi Lazarus Amayo, and Deputy Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for Africa, Mr. Bennett Harmon. Also expected to attend are Governor Mutahi Kahiga from Nyeri County, Governor Irungu Kangata from Murang'a County, and Richard Ngatia from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. Now, early bird registration is currently ongoing at onevoiceconsortium.org for both event and accommodation, so make sure you get your tickets. Again, the website is onevoiceconsortium.org. Registration is going on for both event and accommodation, so make sure you get your tickets. And to help us maybe get more details regarding the upcoming expo in the Voice, or rather, to help us, get details regarding the upcoming expo is the Voice Consortium President, Dr. Robert Chiuri, all the way from Ohio. And to assist him is OVC's Director of Outreach, Ms. Joy Gacuga, right here live in studio with us. And we also expect to have Kenyan Consul General in LA, Ambassador BigTed, joining us later. But now, with all protocols observed, I will start with the President, Dr. Robert Chiuri, who's joining us via Zoom from Ohio. Robert, karibu sana. Sijui kama unatusikia, Robert?
Yes, nawasikia sana, OneMic studio.
Okay.
Mr. Ali Badawy.
Okay, thank you so much. And we can hear you loud and clear. We like the sound system of where you are. Now, first of all, tell us, how is everything in Ohio, and maybe what part of Ohio are you from? For those of us who are maybe a little bit familiar with the state of Ohio. Dr. Chiuri.
Thank you, Ali Badawy and the team there at OneMic studio. I'm in Columbus, Ohio, which is the capital of Ohio in this Midwest state.
Okay. All right. And how's everything there? Weather kuko vipi? Watu wako vipi? Wanasema vipi huko?
The weather is good. Hapa ni kidogo kuna kama rasha kidogo hivi. But the day has been good. We are hoping that the spring comes up with all the good things.
Okay.
And we continue to enjoy the weather.
Is he a Browns fan?
Okay.
Or Cincinnati Bengals?
I don't know. I don't know whether there's any Browns fans in Columbus.
Cleveland, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Ohio.
Okay. Yeah.
So they have the Browns or
okay.
the Bengals. So I don't know.
It's okay. That's not Ali's language.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Ohio is one big state to me. You know the way Wazungu see Africa. as one big place. When you have a cousin in, when you have someone you know in Nigeria, you're telling a Kenyan, I have a friend in Nigeria. That's how I see Ohio. But Ohio is a very interesting state. Ohio is a very interesting state. You know, I've traveled there a couple of times, and it's one of those places where you see America changing. You know, like but Cleveland, Ohio, I think is less than 5 hours from where we are right here, but an entirely different place. And I advise people to go to Ohio, see something different. But getting back to what brought us here today, now, Dr. Chiuri, recently in the news, the American Chamber of Commerce officials were in Kenya meeting with President Ruto. Now, before we get started on One Voice Consortium, briefly tell us why the U.S. Chamber of Commerce is making a big push in the United States. Dr. Chiuri.
Thank you. OneMic Studio, led by Mr. Ali Badawy. Now, to answer your question, really, as you know, the Chamber of Commerce is throughout the world try to always champion the interests of their member organizations and in the countries where they live. So the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, from what is known in the public domain, were in Kenya and Tanzania on March 28th to 1st of April. And they went with them almost with 30 plus executives from US to kind of advance the interests of their people who are in various sectors, and also commercial interests, and also ensuring that they garner interest for investments in Africa and investment, especially in that part of the world. And more importantly, they were showcasing US businesses in terms of the products that they have and the services that they offer. I believe that is what they were out there to do. Of course, we in Kenya are particularly interested in them coming because we are also involved in some ongoing US and Kenya free trade agreements.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. You know, because we saw this in the news, and we were just a little bit curious, you know, like why they picked Kenya. But I think we're gonna touch on that later, you know, like, and I wanna welcome Owor Were, karibu sana, Sleo Dwor, karibu, Tabitha and Jerry, welcome to the OneMic show. You know, tell us what you think about investing in Kenya. Go down to the comments, tell us what you think about putting your money in Kenya. You know, today we're talking about investing in Kenya, not just in real estate, so many other different investments, you know, that Dr. Chiuri is going to be talking about. So work a comments up, Chini, tell us what investments you're looking at, or if you have any fears about investing in Kenya. Now, as we keep going here, now beyond the brief introduction that I give, Dr. Chiuri, please tell us who One Voice Consortium is. Most of our audience are actually hearing about this organization for the very first time. So, Dr. Chiuri, the floor is yours.
Thank you. One Voice Consortium actually is called Global Diaspora Development Foundation. It's a non-profit, IRS tax exempt, and we are an organization that is an umbrella organization of others that are here in the diaspora. That comprise over 100 others that are in various sectors, whether it is in education, agriculture, business, finance, trade, banking, innovation, and so on, culture and gender issues, and so on. So this is an organization that is here to champion the interests of people in the diaspora, uplifting their lifestyle, improving their socio-economic status, and most importantly, bringing the welfare and our Kenyans together. That is what we've been doing for the last 4 years since our start.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Chiuri. And then Hussein Tukokome, karibu sana. Hussein Tukokome anasema assalamu alaikum, anasema alaikum salam. Time ya kufungua ishafika. I hope umekula tende, I hope umekunywa maji. You know, we're in Ramadan. This is a very interesting Ramadan season where it's Ramadan and it's also Easter, and then it's also the Jewish one. There's something the Jewish people are also celebrating, all within this same period of time.
Passover,
yes,
those ones.
Yeah, so we're in a very holy period for everyone.
Yes.
And then I also want to remind the listeners and the audience that in studio, like we had earlier, mentioned is OVC's Director for Outreach, Miss Joy Gacuga. Joy, karibu sana to the studio. How are you doing today?
How are you doing?
Oh.
Thank you so much. My name is Joy Gacuga.
Mm-hmm.
Happy and good Friday to you all.
Uh-huh.
And thank you so much for having us here as
Okay.
One Voice Consortium. I'm the Director for Outreach and Hospitality,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm so grateful to be with you.
Okay.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And then you want to pull the mic a little bit closer to you. Yeah. You want to pull it a little bit closer to you if you're comfortable hapo nyuma ama kama unataka kuja mbele kidogo. Yeah, isiwe mbali sana na wewe hapo sawa. But we can hear you loud and clear. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming physically to the studio, despite the fact that you had to go through traffic, drive for a little, like maybe close to 1 hour, maybe slightly over an hour, but we appreciate you being here. Now, One Voice Consortium will be hosting a Diaspora Investment Expo in DC from the 5th of May to the 7th. Please, Joy, tell us about this expo and maybe why Kenyans living in the US should buy the tickets to attend, which are live right now on onevoiceconsortium.org. Joy.
Thank you. I think it is very important for the Kenyans in the diaspora to join us for this huge event that is going to be hosted in Washington, D.C. As you have all visited the One Voice Consortium website, the event is going to be held at the Hilton, D.C., Rockville, Metro Center, and Executive Center. This event, it's going to be one of a kind for so many reasons. We are meeting as the Diasporans. We want to gain a different perspective. Instead of saying diaspora is not involved at any time for an event, this is a high time we meet together as Diasporans. We come together, we stick together, and exercise our muscles as we make these huge contributions to the economy through the remittances that we make back at home. Then we can be able to have a vested interest in our homeland of the vibrant culture.
Okay, thank you so much, Joy. And I can see Stephen Bat is here, Sambaza Podcast, karibu sana. And Tabitha Njeri is asking, how many members does the organization have? Good to hear about that. I think this is going to go back to you, President Dr. Chiuri.
Thank you. As I said earlier, the One Voice Consortium is an umbrella organization for others that are in various sectors. We have over 100 member organizations, and within those 100 member organizations, there are almost over 150,000 members. There are members organizations that have 100 people, others have even over 1,000. So this brings us all together. These organizations are in various continents. Some are here in US, others are in UK and Europe, and others in the Far East and Asia, together with Australia. We have even members in Africa outside of Kenya, and all of those are in very, very respective sectors. And we welcome anybody who wants to join One Voice Consortium, who has an organization that is impacting the people on the ground.
Okay, all right. So Tabitha, I hope your question was answered. And Tabitha is also saying, my worry about investing in Kenya is the value of the depreciating shilling against the dollar. That coupled with a global risk of economic recession, would the experts recommend investing at this time, or should one wait for stabilization? Dr. Chiuri.
Switch to the yen or the yuan.
The yuan, the Chinese yuan.
See, everybody's shifting over there.
I don't know. A lot of
Not
people.
everyone, but guys are shifting.
A lot of people are talking about it.
Yes. Okay.
But qua ground,
Very different.
people are holding dollars. Dr. Chiuri.
Yeah, I know there's always worry about risk of investments away from where people are, but I must tell you, investing in Kenya is always good in whatever way that you're looking at it. Even at the moment, as you know, as Joy has mentioned about remittances, Kenyans in the diaspora sent to Kenya over 400 billion Kenya shillings. And that was, in fact, just a drop in the ocean based on what they can actually be able to do back home. And this would be in various sectors. There are a lot of opportunities back home in terms of investing. People may fear situations that are there, but things keep on changing in terms of political situation, in terms of socio-economic situations, and so forth. But there is always a time to look at how do I invest? How do I make a decision for the future? Because you always are making an investment is for the future. And benefits come in many ways. In terms of investing something for your children, investing something for your families, and investing something for the society. So I think at this point, I would say investing back in Kenya is still great, and it is in various sectors, not just land. A lot of people think that they can just invest in land or in real estate, but there are other areas of investment in terms of agriculture, in terms of export of agri-based products, improving our value addition and our supply chains, and also investing in the digital economy, which has become a very, very good and attractive area for upcoming young people.
Okay, asante sana, Dr. Chiuri. Now, Drew Kimani here has a question that we're going to be addressing later on in the hour, but I'm just going to quickly read it. Drew's concern is we've heard about a lot of Kenyans in the diaspora getting burnt on fake land sales staged as legitimate investment opportunities. How does your organization support Kenyans here in ensuring these organizations are legitimate and will deliver on their products? I think we're going to hold on to that question because we're going to be addressing it comprehensively, later on. And we're also going to be joined by Balozi BigTed all the way from LA. I'm not sure if he's already, connected on the Zoom conference. And if he has, we're going to be getting to him shortly. But I just want to quickly first remind the listeners that you're tuned into the OneMic show, and I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawy. We're talking to officials from an investment coalition called Voice Consortium. Of course, here in studio, we have Gacuga, the director for outreach, and then all the way from Ohio on Zoom, we have Dr. Chiuri, who is the president of the organization. Now, they're scheduled to host a Diaspora Investment Expo in Washington, D.C. between May 5th to the 7th. Now, early bird registration is currently ongoing at onevoiceconsortium.org. So please remember to visit the site for details and to get your tickets. We'll soon be talking about fears Kenyans have investing back home, and you already see a number of questions have already come from the audience, so we want you to stay tuned for that. Now, we also live with us from California is Kenya Consul General in LA, Ambassador BigTed, who is now a familiar face to the OneMic show fraternity. So BigTed, first we want to tell you, karibu sana BigTed, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you so much for having us, for having me.
Yeah.
On the show.
Okay, is that a real background there? Is that like one of those? Is that a?
It's not virtual.
It's not virtual.
It's not a virtual one. It's actually a real one.
Hey, okay. So una enjoy. Yani the California. I don't know whether it's sunlight, because California has been having funny weather lately.
No, I've actually just come back from a whole. What we're calling the mobile consular services effort all around America.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you my last place was Minnesota.
Yes.
And thank God I'm in LA. I actually sat in the sun for 3 hours.
Ulichapwa na baridi sawa.
I sat in the sun for 3 hours just to suck it in.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's good. And karibu sana to the OneMic show. Now, we know that the PS for Diaspora Affairs, Roslyn Jogu, and DC's ambassador Lazarus Amayo will feature in this OVC Expo. So briefly tell us why and where the Kenyan government is getting involved in this expo, and if government is now looking at diaspora Kenyans as foreign direct investors. Balozi BigTed.
Okay. So I think number one is to thank all of you for putting this together. We shall actually be at this particular event. I'll be your host for this particular event. And amongst my boss, the PS for Diaspora, will be there speaking. My senior Balozi Amayo will also be there at the same event, and a few other government officials. The president of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, Richard Ngatia, will also be there. And I think for us as government, it's important, number one, to support each and every activity that Kenyans have outside Kenya because of a few things. Number one, these are the same people who we expect to either bring back investment into the country or to attract investment. And above everything, remember, these are the first line ambassadors that we have all over the world. So for government, it's important that we're there. It's important that we're there also to listen and to hear what the ground is saying, what people in the diaspora are saying. For example, we just came out of what we're calling the MCS, Mobile Consular Services, which again was an initiative by the ministry of a promise the president made for increased engagement in the diaspora. But from it also, we've learned quite a bit of stuff, quite a bit. We went in with one direction, and again, we have learned quite a lot. And we want to promise you that the next one we shall do shall be better, shall be very, very different. And the things that the lessons that we take shall be effected in the next one. So for government, number two is to listen. Number three, government is there to speak. Government is there to speak for itself and for the country and for the potential that the region has. You remember the last time I was on your show, I spoke about this thing of loving Kenya. And I said, Kenya is 1 hour away from everything. And I told you why Kenya and why now. And if you watched the trade representative who was in Kenya, she used the exact words. Why Kenya, why now, and how?
Okay.
So the world is looking to Kenya because it's the most stable economy in East and Central Africa. And apart from Nigeria and South Africa and the top countries, Kenya is actually the shining light. It's the anchor for quite a number of economies. I mean, around Kenya, we have about 8 or 9 countries whose economies are anchored on Kenya and whose stability is anchored on Kenya. So for us, as the government, it's important for us to be there to support this particular process, but also to be part of the solution. I heard you ask a question before, and I want to appreciate. Maybe I've never said this before. Now, all of a sudden, I appreciate the whole issue of people in the diaspora complaining about guys in Kenya either playing them or whatever. I mean, I'm experiencing it daily, whereby you call a guy, you can't reach them. It's a whole lot of stories. For me, it's an opportunity for a service that is required there. In fact, a few people I know have come up with a couple of services. They'll be launching them.
Okay.
But this is also an opportunity for people in the diaspora to tell government that the solution they want to give, not necessarily government to give them.
Okay.
So those 3 things, I think, are the most important things that government is coming to do on the table.
Okay, asante sana Balozi BigTed. And I want to come back to the studio and I want honest answers from the panel right now. Because there was a lot of skepticism, diasporans have already started expressing, like you can see even here in the comments, regarding investing in Kenya. There's a lots of business deals that have gone sour in Kenya. So Mosh, maybe I'm going to start with you. Are you sold into this idea that One Voice Consortium is pushing to invest in Kenya? DJ OmoshFaya.
Thanks, Ali, and once again, thanks to our guests for gracing us with your presence. BigTed, it looks like you're going to become a regular, so hizo Fanta pia unaweza kuona sukuma huku kabla uanze show. Ali, your question about having a channel or a path for Kenyans to invest, I think if we, just like somebody asked earlier about vetting organizations or places that we deal with in Kenya, in terms of by the time I want to make an investment or I'm thinking about making an investment, I can go to a place that has already done all the vetting. So all I'm doing is going through vendors or people or places or products that they have vetted. That is a plus and it's a win. And just like BigTed was saying, you eliminate having that rela of viewers who you're sending money to, who, keep sending you pictures of the neighbor's building next door until the day you get home and you find out that you didn't even have a plot. So, I applaud this effort. And what I would say is, since this, to me, this is the beginning of us reaching out to everybody and letting people know that OVC exists, because this is the first time that we're hearing of OVC, unless you heard of OVC before this show. I know I hadn't heard of them, and I would say normally my ear is on the ground, but I had not heard of this, and I really applaud the effort. The only question that I would have for them is, why would I have to go through an organization and not come in on my own?
That's a very good question. Now, before, real quick, we go to Micah, because Micah is also on standby. With that question that you've just left us with, I'm going to go to Dr. Chiuri to see if we can get an answer to that. Dr. Chiuri, like, why go through an organization rather than just go direct?
Thank you for that question, OneMic Studio and the team there. As you very well have said, Kenyans are very skeptical as far as organizations that that are coming to sell them investment opportunities in Kenya. And some of them we've come to learn are really very, very shadowy kind of organizations that are not even known. So what we have done in One Voice Consortium is to develop an issue of vetting organizations, and not just vetting organizations, affiliating ourselves with organizations that are very, very well known, that have already done due diligence on other organizations. For instance, organizations that are going to be participating in our One Voice Consortium are members of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, or they're affiliated with the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. What does that mean? It means that those are organizations that the Chamber has been dealing with for a long time. They already scrutinize their best practices. They already review them on an annual basis. So these are people we can be able to work with. Secondly, when the organizations are joining our One Voice Consortium, we also do our own vetting. We have a vetting committee that kind of goes through these companies to know who they are, what is their mission, what is their vision, what have they done in the past, and most importantly, do they maintain a code of conduct that is applicable towards solving the problems of the community. That is what we do. And that is what has attracted a lot of people to us, because we don't deal with people who are just a one briefcase organization. We deal with the people who are impacting others on the ground. And that is why even to join us as One Voice Consortium, you must have an organization that is helping Kenyans somewhere. And this an organization that has at least more than 5 people in it, so that we are sure that you are helping people somewhere, and we can be able to evaluate and see how you're doing as far as an organization. That is what has made us separate. We do not interfere with what you're doing in your organization, as long as it is helping Kenyans, it is uplifting them, it is helping them solve solutions that are there, whether those solutions are about welfare, whether it is about business, whether it is about governance, whether it is about empowerment, all these things that are important to all of us. We try to make sure that we work with the best of the best in the industry.
But Dr. Chiuri, I want to challenge you a little bit here, like piggybacking on Drew Kimani's question that he brought up earlier, like where, yes, you're vetting the organizations, but then these organizations are also working with entities in Kenya. And it's these entities in Kenya that have previously fleeced Kenyans here in the diaspora. And some of them, like legitimate looking entities. Now, just going back to what Drew Kimani asked, I'm going to repeat his questions. He said, we've heard about a lot of Kenyans in the diaspora getting burnt on fake land sales staged as legitimate investment opportunities. How does your organization support Kenyans here in ensuring organizations are legitimate and will deliver on their products? Now, this is accountability now with the organization. We know that there is multiple bad actors from the Kenyan side, but is there any responsibility, any accountability that One Kenya Consortium will take for a bad deal that was mediated through the organization? Dr. Chiuri.
Thank you for that question. One of the things that we have done is to work very, very closely with the State of Diaspora Affairs Department. As you very well know, we really thank our President, His Excellency President William Ruto, for creating this State of Diaspora Affairs because now we can see a really good link between us and the government. And so what we are doing is to work very closely with the State of Diaspora Affairs in such a way that we are going later on to develop a way in which any company that is coming to work with the Diasporans has to go through that State of Diaspora Affairs in terms of recognition, in terms of vetting. So that in one way, we can be able to be sure that people who are coming here have already gone through some kind of vetting in terms of what they're doing. So these are things that we are going to slowly put mechanisms in, because now that we are working with the Diaspora Affairs, we can be able to challenge a company whether they have been able to get a certificate of support from that department, or even certificate of support from the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. That way, we are sure that this person and this organization has had some kind of a due diligence done on them.
Okay, asante sana. And we have some people commenting on YouTube. Paul Nzengu, Afro-Jamaican. Lily O, we are coming to you shortly. But let's quickly go to Micah Och, who's been patiently listening to us via Zoom. He also has a point or two and a question. Micah.
Hey, Ali, thank you very much. Can you hear me in the studio?
Loud and clear.
Tunakupokea.
Thank you. Just want to welcome BigTed, VP Mambo Balozi. Thank you for coming. I want to also welcome our two other guests, Dr. Chiuri and Ms. Joyce over here, and our fellow panelists and our listeners. Karibuni and Good Friday to all of you. Sisi watu wa Pasaka tunajibamba. And Ali, I know your big day is soon here, so nakuja kukula bado. Rajani mbaliza fast meal. Anyway.
Okay, sawa, Mika.
So for me, I just had a question about OVC after hearing what Dr. Chiuri had to say and everything. And also based on the questions that the people are asking. And I guess to get a clarity on, and to care about some of the questions that people still have is obviously going to be more of a vetting vehicle for these businesses that are coming into the diaspora, or are you going to be, people are going to be investing with OVC, then OVC is the one that does the investing for them in the various organizations that are affiliated to you? Because there's still that confusion in that, as Aliyah said, we have organizations like, most of the people here have a problem with banks like KCB and Equity with their diaspora banking. And even if we vet them for having provided services to Kenya and they still come through OVC, how sure am I going to be that the services, even if I use them through you, I'm going to get my services without the regular disappointments that happen? Because it's not that these companies that are going to join are going to be new companies that have just been formed. My other question is where the investment part of it, a clear understanding of the investment part of it. If I have, let's say I have $30,000 I want to invest back home, how do I invest them through you? Are you the one, am I giving that money to you and then you are deciding where you're putting it, or are you just going to be a conduit to connect me to a business that I want to invest in?
Okay, Mika, asante sana. Dr. Chiuri, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Mika, for those two questions. Let me start by correcting the misrepresentation or anything that may not have been clear. We, as an organization, we are an umbrella organization of others. And what we were saying about vetting is people who want to join us within our organization, our member organization. We have a procedure of how they are vetted to become members of our organization in terms of what they do. But we do not vet the companies that are coming from Kenya or companies that are in Kenya. And that is what we were saying, that we will work with others that are in Kenya to help us vet them before they come here. people like the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. We already have a memorandum of understanding and affiliation with them, such that if anybody is coming to do business here, we can ask them to give us, a certificate of good conduct from these organizations, or even a certificate of recognition from them. The other avenue that we are also using is to work closely with our State of Diaspora Affairs, so that if we have a doubt about a certain company or a certain organization, we can ask them to provide for us a due diligence report about that organization. In that way, people in the diaspora can be confident about dealing with these organizations, because a lot of people have lost a lot of money. And therefore, that's why people are asking us to really help them vet organizations that are coming here, because they are feeling that they're being ripped off by certain companies. And that is why, even as we have this expo, we are saying that only the companies that have been vetted by the organizations I mentioned earlier are the ones that we are allowing to come. We are not responsible for other expos or other events that are here in US or other countries, but we are saying only for the events that we are holding, we have already vetted these organizations. And as you know, always in any sector, it is that one bad apple that spoils all the others. So even in these situations, it's only a few of these organizations that are doing this. And so we are asking even members of those those associations and sectors to vet their members, to continue making sure that they are doing a self-inspection of their own members on how they're doing, so that they can weed out the characters that are, masquerading to cheat Kenyans in a way that is really destroying.
Okay, so thank you so much, Dr. Chiuri. That's quite a comprehensive answer, and I think this is a subject that we'll keep addressing, we'll keep talking about, because it's a real issue facing a lot of Kenyans who are trying to invest in Kenya and trying to build Kenya. Now, there's an interesting question that's now going to Balozi BigTed. An interesting question coming from our YouTube viewers. We're still growing our YouTube page. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page too. Afro-Jamaican, like one of our very keen listeners. The Afro-Jamaican is actually a Jamaican who lives in Canada and has been investing in Kenya. In fact, there's other things that tutongia nyuma ya tent after the show. But right now, Afro-Jamaican wants to know, he's telling us, can you ask the ambassador if there are any plans to welcome descendants of the slave trade? We are looking to invest, but there is no streamlined process. Balozi BigTed, very heavy question.
All right, it's actually a pretty simple question, and I think very many people have asked the same one. And in my sojourn of the West Coast, I'm meeting a lot of people of Black descent who keep on asking me the same question, and many of them would like us to go the direction of Ghana, which gave basically a blank check and said, hey, if you want to come back home, just come back and do everything. I think it's important that we move our school of thought, and this is basically the whole of Africa, whereby people of African descent do not need permission to come back to Africa. I think it needs to be a thought process that it goes through various thinking and through different minds for it to finally be accepted. But personally, I think that's what needs to happen. As for Kenya, Kenya is open to anybody who would want to invest in Kenya. We have 2 or 3 things that you must do to show that you are committed to the matter, because also what we need to do also with our countries, we have very delicate economies and very delicate infrastructures. What we need to do with our countries is give some certain criteria of people who come in. So if you come in as a tourist, or if you're coming in as an investor, or if you're coming in as you want to get some citizenship and to live and work there and invest there, I would actually tell you, I think I told you guys last time on the show, I have 2 of the world's biggest artists, one from Jamaica, and she and her family have put in their request to actually be citizens, to be given citizenship in Kenya.
Could you be
They
revealing
would
their
like
names?
to move to Kenya.
Do you have their names?
No.
No. Okay.
But these are processes which are there, and we welcome anybody who would like to invest in Kenya. I think my email, I can give out my email, and someone can come and have a conversation. But would like right now for us to start having the conversation about how we can open up Africa for Africans and people of Black descent all over the world to be able to come in and invest. As of now, we have a small rule, 2-3 things that you must pass and qualify in. Same way in any other sovereign nation. For you to become a citizen, you just have to go through 2-3 things, which basically ensure that the integrity of the process and the document that you'll be given as a citizen is actually legitimate.
Okay.
Can I just jump in on the question which was asked about the legitimacy and checking the legitimacy of companies that are operating off Kenya?
Yes, please.
I think one of the things that I've come to realize is that we need to start doing a lot of background checks on any entity that you decide to work with. Now, at the big boys who I'll talk about just now in a few minutes' time, you just mentioned one of them and you said, okay, we have a problem with this particular person. And what I'd want to say is this, is that the governance structures of these organizations in the past did not have an emphasis on the diaspora. So you'll find that, for example, they'll tell you, before you open an account, you need to have an ID, you need to have a PIN, you need to have this, you need to have that. And we end up not being able to mop up a lot of funds in the diaspora because of this whole long process. Now, I believe that very many of these entities right now, because of the focus on the diaspora, are relooking their governance structures, and they're looking at the things that they can offer you as the diaspora. For example, if a bank tells you that they require you to give a PIN, it's not because they want you to give. The PIN will not help the bank. The PIN is actually a requirement of the Central Bank of Kenya because of the track and trace of funds and being able to safeguard the investment that you have there. Let me speak about the smaller ones. The smaller companies, I think we need to be a bit more diligent. I think many of us in the diaspora, and I speak like right now like a resident in the diaspora, are very excited and excitable with things that we are thrown for. So somebody says there's this.
Can't transfer the 100K to a Kenyan bank. So there is a process, but it does not work. So in the cases of people like him, what is he supposed to do at this point? It's like, he's between a rock and a hard place. Balozi.
All right, like I said, I think some of these things are governance issues, which were based on basically processes which were there before the focus on the diaspora came about. But I'd like to say that we have a couple of other investors who've managed to do all these things, and they've managed to go through the whole process. I would like to give myself to him to see how else can we be able to help him to make sure he achieves what he wants, and also link him to anybody who he'd want to get in government to enable him to invest and be happy about his investment in Kenya.
Okay, so can you give us your information again? Remember the email that you gave us so that we can pin it in there.
Okay, you can use ask@KenyaConsulatela.com. ask@KenyaConsulatela.com.
Okay, ask@KenyaConsulatela.com. Thank you so much, and apologies, to those who are joining us back on Facebook. We had an issue with the stream. I think the YouTube stream is still live and it's still active. So you can still join us on both sides. And I want to remind the listeners again that you are tuned in to the OneMic show, and I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawy. We are talking to officials from an investment coalition called One Voice Consortium. They are scheduled to host a Diaspora Investment Expo in Washington, D.C. between May 5th and to the 7th. Now, early bird registration is currently ongoing at onevoiceconsortium.org. So please remember to visit the site. We'll soon be talking about the U.S.-Kenya Free Trade Agreement, so stay tuned for that. I want to come back to studio right now to the panelists and to Joy Gacuga here, the director for outreach. Now, coming back, or rather Joy, you have been tasked with mobilizing Kenyans to attend this event out here on the ground. Now, one of the major draws will be some of the high-profile speakers expected to attend both from the US and Kenya. I want you to please tell us who some of these speakers are and maybe tell us why this is not just another star-studded diaspora conference like we've previously had in DC before.
Thank you, Ali. I would want to mention one of the speakers from Kenya. We are going to have the governor of Nyeri. He's going to be one of the speakers at the Diaspora Conference. And he will be bringing a lot of information from Nyeri and a lot of networking and issues that diasporans can be able to connect with the Nyeri County and to be able to liaise with their governor and to be able to do more, to engage more with the governor from Nyeri. Okay. We're also going to have people like the chairman of the Chamber of Commerce that is also going to be at the event. So this is also somebody that diasporans would need to engage at this particular moment. The only thing that I can say, with your permission, that networking is like nutrition, it's like fitness. It's you know what to do with it. If you want to do the networking, just come for this event. Okay. Because if you make it a priority, you will definitely have something good to go away with. So we're going to have actually 40 exhibitors at the moment. We have 40 exhibition booths that are available at the event. So if you have anything, if you want to come and showcase your merchandise, you want to come and tell us who you are, what you're doing in the diaspora, you want to connect and get to know people back in Kenya, this is the opportune time for you to come for this diaspora conference. Okay.
Now, when you say you have 40 exhibitors, does that mean that anyone who has anything to show can go to the website, apply, and attend as an exhibitor?
Yes. Anyone who is interested to be an exhibitor at the conference, they can just visit the website and be able to pay to become an exhibitor, to be able to get a booth so that they can be able to showcase their merchandise or whatever they would want to do during the exhibition.
Okay, and what are the costs looking like? You know, attending just as, because you can attend as an exhibitor or you can just attend as an individual?
As an individual, currently we have a special rate of $150. For exhibitors, we have booths for $500, $1,000, depending on what you want to pay and to support this event to be a success.
Okay. And is this an event that will be happening every year, or because this is the first time, you know, like I'm hearing about this event, so is this going to be an annual thing, or is this just a one-time affair?
I do not think it's going to be a one-time thing. I can say for sure it's going to be an event that we could hold annually, depending on the response from the diaspora. If we are able to tap into the diaspora, if we are able to connect with the diasporans as One Voice Consortium, if we can speak in one voice, we can move to greater lengths and greater heights as we continue to live in the diaspora.
Okay, and Slayer was asking, you know, like she may have missed, you know, like when the stream went off for a moment. Will this event be live streamed, or is this something that's still in discussion?
I think I would rather Dr. Chiuri answers that question. Okay. Because it should be something still in discussion at the moment.
All right, Dr. Chiuri, will the event be live streamed?
What we have organized is that there'll be several media organizations that want to support us, but at the moment we are still in discussion with them on how this will be covered. So perhaps maybe a week to the event is when we'll perhaps know exactly whether there's going to be a virtual element to what we are doing. But at the moment, we are approaching several organizations that may help us. So we'll be able to put out that word later on.
Okay. And Dr. Chiuri, back to you again. We know that this is just on a different note. You know, we know that diasporans are mostly familiar with real estate investing in Kenya, but the people are curious about other sectors. So what sectors beyond real estate will will you be looking into, or rather, what breakaway sessions are we going to have in this event for sectors that are not necessarily real estate? What are the major sectors that you're looking at?
Thank you, Ali, for that question. As we have come to know, a lot of people think that real estate or in housing, that's the only sector that is thriving. But I think Kenya has very, very many sectors that people can invest in. For instance, agriculture. People have a lot of idle land and land that can be cultivated and brought to even further use. We know as a country we are agriculture based, and so there are a lot of opportunities in terms of agriculture. And when I talk about agriculture, I'm talking more of agribusiness and value addition. Right now, we want to make sure that we change even our way of agriculture from rain-fed agriculture to more of irrigation, so that we can have bumper yields, and also that we can even have food security in our country. So we are looking at those as opportunities, because if diaspora can be able to invest more into agriculture, more into value addition, and when I say value addition, I'm talking of manufacturing, that all helps the economy in terms of new jobs. It increases the supply chain. It increases our foreign earnings. And most importantly, it provides even stable economy. So what we are saying is that there is much, much more than just real estate and land. There is even, in fact, what we are calling ICT and digital economy. Right now, you can see some of the biggest startup companies that are in digital are doing very, very well. And so we are asking the diaspora to invest also in the digital economy, in startups that are in that area of innovation, so that we can be able to do much, much more. Even in terms of business outsourcing, some years ago we were beaten by India and other economies in the East as a business outsourcing country. We need to bring that back, because our country is a country that can do a lot of business outsourcing for companies that are in Europe, in US, and elsewhere. Because one, we have a skilled young workforce, people who are fluent in written and speaking English, people who are versatile, so we can be able to change the narrative here, and we have more business outsourcing companies in Kenya that can be able to work on behalf of the multinationals. So I see that also as a very, very great point that we can be able to have. We are also talking of the blue economy. We need to see all that coastline of Kenya being more of an area in which we can be able to do many, many things, including creating more of export processing zones and free and duty-free areas. So I think we can be able to do much more in making Kenya appear and be almost like a small Dubai in Africa. So that is something that we are challenging the diaspora, and the diaspora needs to take the lead in this. We can be able to do it with our Kenyan government and all the other government agencies that can work with us. That's an opportunity that is there.
Okay,
Dr. Chiuri, maybe Ali wants us to have a special creative economy side meeting. Ali, I'm speaking for you.
I absolutely, you're on my mind, and that's what I was gonna ask. And that's what I was gonna ask Dr. Chiuri. Because when it comes to the creative economy, it's always sometimes viewed as a hobby. When we see, our brothers across the continent in Nigeria who are making millions, and you have other industries that are just supporting, that creative industry, employing, millions of people. And this is where, I wanted to know, in some of those breakaway sessions, and in as far as, because I've seen in the program, there's entertainment, but in the breakaway sessions, I'm not sure if there's anyone that's dedicated to the creative economy, because that is the future, and that's where other parts of Africa, we are seeing South Africa, we are seeing West Africa, we are seeing people become millionaires, we are seeing whole industries, people being employed. So Dr. Chiuri, please tell us what OVC is working on as far as the creative sector is concerned, just like Balozi BigTed was in my mind and read my question.
Ali, let me save Dr. Chiuri from this particular one.
Yes.
I had a talk with him today about this same thing, and he agreed for us to set up a side meeting for the creative economy and targeting new markets like AI, like animation, like film production. Kenya is right now just working on an incentives policy, which will be able to attract more people in movies to be acted there, but also to grow the industry. So yes, that will be there, and I can speak because I'll be leading that particular side meeting, and we shall be releasing this coming week a whole array of activities. We've also invited great Kenyans in Hollywood. For example, you would be very shocked. There are about 78 Kenyans who basically work in the ecosystem that makes the creative economy of America. That's from record companies to magazines. I mean, Essence Magazines, the CEO is a Kenyan. So we have Kenyans who are there and who are saying we're willing to create an environment whereby Kenyans can also be able to benefit both at home and also here. We have people like Perez Owino, who's the writer for Jada Pinkett Smith's latest movie, Queens of Njinga. And there are lots of other people. So that will be able to happen there, the creative economy and technology, because IT forms a bit of that. And we shall be releasing that information this coming week. Saved by the bell, Mr. Chiuri.
Saved by the bell.
Thank you. Let me add that in the conference, in the expo, we'll be having 10 panels, and culture, arts, and creative economy is one of them. In fact, we'll be having finance and technology, we'll be having agriculture and food security, we'll be having socioeconomic business and SMEs, we'll have women in empowerment, we'll have telecommunications and energy, and many others. So there'll be many breakaway sessions where a lot of actions are towards investments, a lot in getting the information out there, just like our ambassador BigTed has mentioned. So there's a lot. Just go to our website and you'll see the wealth of information that we have over there.
Okay, and that's www.onevoiceconsortium.org. And then there's some questions, yes, some interesting questions coming up here, like on the Facebook live stream. Tabitha Njeri is asking, many gained strong business expertise in the U.S. getting to senior leadership. I'd love to hear about B2B consulting if possible. How do we diasporans crack into the corporate and NGO world in Kenya to provide business consulting services? I'd like to know if the event will benefit this type of diaspora. And while answering that question, Dr. Chiuri, think about, the diaspora maybe who has, like a small consulting business, or even someone who has a small amount of money, like Micah mentioned earlier. I have $30,000. I have $20,000. Is there anything for me in this OVC Expo, Dr. Chiuri?
Absolutely. And what we are saying is that people here in diaspora have a lot of advantages. You already know what this market economy here in the West and in the development world needs. So trying to link what is available back home with what is needed here is very, very easy. So look at what the opportunities are here and tap into the things that are back home. And as I mentioned earlier about business outsourcing services, many people in the diaspora can be able to offer these services because you already know what these companies that are here need and what are the resources we have back home in terms of setting up an office that our young skilled people will be able to do in terms of serving these multinationals that are here. So the opportunities are there. You just need to be able to come to the event and be able to perhaps also have one of our networking sessions, which is more of business to business, is B2B, where you discuss with a business that is here that wants to partner with somebody in Africa or in Kenya, for that matter. So I think opportunities are there. We cannot mention all the opportunities that are there. That's why we're asking you to come and do your due diligence, come and be with us, spend time with us, talk with the people that are here, attend as many forums as possible, and most importantly, also have time to enjoy. We'll be having evenings where we are just, celebrating for being in the diaspora and having that zilizopendwa and
you mean sherehe?
Other
you mean
new
sherehe,
renditions
sherehe.
that are there.
What
do you think, Ambassador Kwaka?
Yeah, you mean sherehe, kutakuwa na sherehe.
Yes.
Okay.
I think that Ambassador will be shaking a leg.
Balozi wa sherehe amesema ndio.
Okay, all right.
And to add to that, on the second day, which is on a Saturday, we'll be actually having a gala evening and a gala awards ceremony. We want to honor and award companies that have impacted the diaspora in a big way, individuals that have impacted the diaspora in a big way, so that also sends the message that these are the people that are leading the torch in various sectors, whether it is in business, whether it is in the creative economy, whether it is in the gender empowerment, in youth empowerment, in innovation, business, finance, all these sectors that makes us, really a big diaspora honoring these people. And there are many. So it is going to be difficult to really see who it is, who wins these awards. But I tell you, everybody who comes, who is nominated, is a great champion themselves.
I think it sounds like the OneMic show might be a champion there.
We are yet to find out.
That's what it sounds like. Sounds like we might be a champion there.
We are yet to find out, BigTed, kazi kwako, because...
uzime mic.
I actually think you guys have done a great job. One of the things that I keep asking everywhere I go to in America, I've just come from 10 cities, is the whole aspect of us as Kenyans having one communication network or channel that even government is able to use to inform people, businesses are able to use to inform people. Right now, we have, I know of about 6 or 7 companies which want to come into America. But because we don't have very fluent channels, then it becomes a bit hard for us to speak to everybody. So I want to give you guys your bouquet of flowers. I mean, you guys are doing an amazing job.
Thank you so much.
Can that bouquet come with money?
Can it come with cash? Micah.
Still here.
Micah.
While Balozi is still here,
yes.
I want to catch him up on something. So, Balozi mentioned something about Boma Yangu, which, as you explained, is the affordable housing program in Kenya right now. Good initiative. It's a really good initiative. I know, or rather, let me just say, okay, I know somebody who works for the company that got the turn of building those houses, and I know the process of how you get those houses for people who are in Kenya. Now, my question is for the people who are in the diaspora. Some of us would like to be homeowners, but we are not that set up financially to be able to finance a build or to finance buying a house, but we would like to be homeowners in Kenya. Can we have it organized for people in the diaspora to be able to buy these houses, right? To be able to register and be able to get also consideration in owning some of these homes, because most people kama kina Omosh walikuja huku 1976 hawajawahi rudi kwa sababu hawana hata izimba. So it will be something that will actually encourage a lot of the young generation who are here right now to just get away on how to invest back home. Home ownership is actually one of the fastest and easiest ways in which young people build wealth with. And if I build a house in Kenya, it gives me more impetus to be going back there and to also want to invest more, because now I have a house. What more can I do here? Am I thinking about retirement, going back home? So is there a way in which this Boma Yangu initiative can be incorporated for the diasporans too?
Thank you. I think one of the things that we need to do as diasporans, and maybe I want to task the OneMic show to have a checklist of the things that the diaspora says they want, and then the things that government actually immediately takes up. I want to assure you that in the next few months, you'll see a huge change in the things that you suggest. So the president is going to launch the portal, which will serve the diaspora very, very soon, and it will actually address your concerns, and at the same time excite you with many other things that we shall be able to do, including those of you who have land which is idle, and the government would like to partner with you to build. So in a few months, the president has promised that he'll launch that up, and trust me, it is as simple as you being able to say, I'm a Kenyan, and the government will back you up word for word. So.
Okay, so I think, like, we need to have another episode, particularly on Boma Yangu, so that because this is a question that has come up before, and a lot of people are curious to know how to do that. Now, real quick, as we're trying to wrap up here, just a quick question coming from Slay: will similar expos happen in other states? We feel left out. I think Slay is talking for the state of Texas, which has the most Kenyans. Dr. Chiuri.
Thank you for that question. I'm aware there'll be other expos that are going to be there after this one of May 5 to 7 in Washington, D.C. We are also aware that somebody called Chris Wamalwa of the Diaspora Live Show will be doing a U.S. tour where he'll be visiting with various companies around the country. We are also aware that one of our member organizations, and this is Jambo has already organized a workshop and a conference somewhere in New Jersey. And also we are aware that in Dallas, Texas, Mombi Baskin has also organized another expo over there for various businesses. So we are aware that there are various activities that will be done after the May Expo, including another Flori Expo that is going to be in Miami. That is dedicated only for horticulture and flowers. We are trying to promote our Kenya Flower Council and companies that are in flower industry to take advantage of this Flower Expo on May 31st to 2nd June. So we are aware there are other expos that are going to be there, and we'll continue to inform you on those expos that we have already done, we are partnering with.
All right, Dr. Chiuri, asante sana. And I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned into the OneMic show, and I'm your co-host and producer, Ali Badawy. We are talking to officials from an investment coalition called One Voice Consortium. They're scheduled to host a Diaspora Investment Expo in Washington, D.C. between May 5th to the 7th. Early bird registration is currently ongoing at onevoiceconsortium.org. So please remember to visit the site. And real quick, before we continue, Micah, we're going to have a conversation in the sports segment. What are we going to be talking about tonight, Micah?
Yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about rugby. We're going to be looking up at the chances of Kenya helping themselves in the quest of avoiding relegation from the Big 7 teams. And also we will be discussing one of the topics that has been the main topics in this country, but in our own flavor. We'll be discussing the results of the March Madness basketball matches that happened last weekend. And we might touch on the aftermath of what happened after the games. So,
okay.
So
that's going to be in the sports segment, so stay tuned, Wanamichezo. Now, Balozi BigTed, as we're coming close now, I have a quick, maybe a technical question for you, because Kenya is currently still in negotiations with the U.S. for a permanent trade agreement. Now, please tell us what this trade agreement would mean for Kenyans living in the diaspora and how our investment goals align with U.S. foreign policy. I don't know whether you're still there, Balozi BigTed. Ama is taking a break. Okay, I think Balozi BigTed has taken a break. I think maybe then I'm going to direct this question to Dr. Chiuri. The U.S.-Kenya Free Trade Agreement, what does this mean for Kenyans in the diaspora? Because it's been in negotiations for quite a long period of time, and this, for those who don't understand, is a permanent agreement, unlike agreements like AGOA, which is between so many different countries and has a sunset clause. You know, these trade deals are permanent trade agreements, like, for example, what the US has with Mexico and Canada. So they want to have some sort of agreement with Kenya. Dr. Chiuri.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ali, for that question. As you have correctly mentioned, the US-Kenya Free Trade Area Agreement started discussions way back during the Donald Trump era, that is when he was president, and it's still going on now. I think we are on the second round of talks or discussions around that. And this is important for us in Kenya because, as perhaps some of you may know, that perhaps the only other country on the African continent that has an agreement of this kind of a nature, a free trade agreement, is Morocco.
Morocco, yeah.
So we would be joining Morocco as only the other African country that has a direct U.S. An African country member free trade area agreement. And this free trade area agreement will be to mostly a trade agreement that may generally favor our country. So these discussions have been ongoing to see what areas our country will position, because it depends on what everybody puts on the table in terms of areas that are important and have a big impact on the on trade and on the economy of that country. And so negotiations are going on. I know our negotiators are really very well informed. The diaspora, through various stakeholders, including One Voice Consortium, has been regularly briefed and consulted on what is going on. So I may not be able to mention here in this at this particular forum, but those negotiations are still going on in a way in which they may favor our country. In terms of what we may be able to do here or bring here into US, whether it is our agricultural produce, whether it is our mineral resource, or whether it is our intellectual or professional knowledge. As you very well know, we have a booming young, youthful, skilled population, and we want to make sure that they are well positioned to work not just in Kenya, but also to work in other countries in which it can also be an income earning for our country. So I guess in a way, I would say that this US-Kenya Free Trade Area Agreement is something that is going to encompass many sectors, and that is why negotiations are going on, led by our able Ministry of Trade and Industrialization, and also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs involved. So I think that's all I can be able to report at this point.
Okay, all right. And I think, the U.S. Free Trade Agreement is something that hopefully that we even want to bring the U.S., one of the U.S. trade representatives or someone from that office to the OneMic show to come and break it down, because we want to hear a perspective from the American side and also a perspective from the Kenyan side. This is a very big deal. And I think our media back home is not doing a very good job in highlighting this, because this is going to be a permanent agreement. And like Dr. Chiuri said, the only other country with a permanent trade deal in Africa with the United States is Morocco. So Kenya is going to be the second country. It's going to be the only country in sub-Saharan Africa. There was issues where, like when the Biden administration came in, it wanted to iron out to make sure that this agreement does not conflict with existing treaties. Like, for example, the East Africa Community Protocol and African Union, because there's existing agreements that we have, as members of these organizations. So I think,
and also to iron out certain misconceptions pertaining to the agreement. What supposedly would have to give up in order to be part of that. Are they going to be bringing in, because you remember there was a report, that what the trade might involve. The concessions that have to be given up is supposedly being a dumping site, for lack of a better word.
Yes.
So those are the things that I think need to be addressed, ironed out, so that people can be actually more confident of what he said.
Yes.
So does this also piggyback on the same with the one with the UK? Because that one is also still being ironed out, right?
The UK, the trade agreement with the UK, that's separate. That's with
I know
the
it's
UK,
separate,
but I think it's also being ironed out.
Still,
I don't know whether that was ironed out or if it was completed. I'm not 100% sure. I can't speak for that one.
Sorry, Ali.
Yes.
I request to drop off. I just need to attend to something else, which is of benefit to our meeting in DC.
Okay.
And as I told you, the idea is to bring the creative economy to the main table of all discussions. So we'll keep you posted. And thank you. Guys, have a great evening.
All right. Thank you.
You too.
Thank you. Thank you, Balozi.
Thank you so much, Balozi, for taking part in the show.
Yeah, I also want to add, Mike Shaw and your team there, that the Office of the United States Trade Representative will be one of our guest speakers at the OVC Expo. And in fact, it might be a great opportunity if you would want to interview him during the Expo. We can be able to make that arrangement, and so that I can even be able to talk more about the Kenya-US Free Trade Area Agreement.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. So
maybe we'll be exhibitor, or is it vendor 41?
We'll try to figure out.
Yeah.
Or maybe OVC can sponsor us, like to be part of the event.
To go ndani,
yes.
like a SIM card.
Yes. So I think
ndani.
Yeah.
We can even be able to allocate a small place for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that you can be able to have a time to interview all these people there.
Yeah, so I think, hiyo ni conversation and you might attend. It will be important also to have media coverage. And one thing that I'm going to challenge you, Dr. Chiuri, and also Joy here in the studio, is that whenever I see such events, there's always a willingness to pay DJs. There's always a willingness to pay, like all kinds of vendors. But then when it comes to coverage, there's always this thing of you guys come cover it for free. And that always happens in this. This is a challenge, This is a challenge that I've seen with a lot of events. And what people forget is that...
even as little as the MC.
Yes. What people forget is that in these kinds of events, it's the people who cover the event that are going to keep it permanent. Because, once the event is done, all the music that was played, nobody's going to remember that. Unless there was a documentation, like a proper documentation of what was happening, the event will disappear. And like you see, there's people from Dallas who want to know what happened there. There's people from California who want to know what happened there. So
Houston?
So this is a challenge. I know it's something that, like whenever these plans are being done, there's there's always, whenever budgets are being done, there's rarely a budget for people who will be covering the event. Give us your quick thoughts, Dr. Chiuri. I'm sorry to put you on the spot on that.
Spotlight.
Thank you. I welcome that question, actually, Mr. Ali Badawy, and I know you're so right. Sometimes, when we are organizing these events, for lack of a better way, like now we said we are a non-profit ourselves, so we are looking for sponsors. And, the sponsors that we look for immediately are, first of all, sponsors that are going to help us with the venue, at least so that we can be able to secure the venue. So I agree with you. We may be able to look at how we can be able to support. So that is something that we are going to actually discuss with you, Nyuma ya Hema. Huh?
Yes, you may attend. Conversation you may attend. Yeah.
That is going to be a conversation. But just know that we value you, we value what you're doing, and actually we find this as one of those things that we really need to do and do very well. Support our media so that it can be able to disseminate all the information that we are having.
Yes, and you're getting salams from Nyambura Rohio, who's one of the officials of One Voice Consortium. Amesema salams to Dr. Robert Chiuri. Now, I want to come back to studio as we're wrapping up now. To you, Joy. And we've seen a lot of these events before. We've seen diaspora conferences. We've had events where people have come from different parts of the country and even from Kenya. But we rarely hear about success stories, like outcomes. Like these events. We had this event in a certain year. This is what happened, and this is where someone is. So with One Voice Consortium, like, is there any success stories that you can pinpoint to for those people maybe who are a bit skeptical to look and say that, okay, I think I see some light at the end of this dark tunnel? Joy.
Thank you very much. I would say that there's a lot of success stories. I'll give a good example, like the Kenya USA Diaspora Circle. It's partnering with the One Voice Consortium, and they have been remitting money back to Kenya. They are able to create jobs for our diasporans and people back in Kenya. We have other institutions that are also connected to One Voice Consortium, like the Kenya Women in the US. They also have a lot of real estate.
You mean Kwitu?
Yes, Kwitu.
Okay, yeah.
They also have some real estate business that they're doing in Kenya, and we are partnering with them as One Voice Consortium so that we can be able to work together as them as an organization and we as one body of organizations in the diaspora. We also have my group, which is called ANA, Atumia Jorua in America.
What? Say that again.
Atumia and Jorua in America, we are almost 2,000 women based here in the diaspora.
Okay.
And we have a motto that we say it's a woman with a voice, so that everybody's voice is heard, everybody has to say something, and that's how we partnered with One Voice Consortium, because we're giving women a chance to know that they are also heroes in their own rights. They don't need to be recognized by anybody, but they should appreciate themselves as we support them as women with a voice. We also have the Wire Bank, which is also partnering with the One Voice Consortium.
Tunawangoja kwanza.
So,
yes, and Wire, we actually hosted them here, like a couple of months ago.
Thank you very much. But what I can say, and I want to come back home, I am impressed to, because you hosted us here, but I noted that you said you don't know about One Voice Consortium. Now you know, and here we are. We want to partner with you. We want to work with you. We want to speak in the same voice as diasporans. And also because you are DMV, you are part of my family here in District of Columbia, Maryland, and Virginia. We need to mobilize our people in DMV area because we're going to have people coming from Seattle, diasporans coming from Texas, diasporans coming from Colorado, New Jersey, New York,
London.
Dr. Release anakuja. Okay. Akina Bishop Mehemehe. Bwana Chiuri. He's coming all the way from Columbus, Ohio. And yet here in DMV, we cannot do without you. We need you, DMV. We need you to work with us as One Voice Consortium.
Okay, tenda imeingiana hapo.
Iko ndani kama SIM card.
Okay. So I mean, I think it's very important, to take part in these community events. And I will also talk, for the younger people, because I'm their representative here. They're not represented. We're actually gonna, at some point on the OneMic show, we are, and this is maybe something that we need to officially announce, we're gonna get, a younger person who's gonna be a representative of that voice, which is mostly left out in this conversation. And I'm not sure why, and I'm also gonna challenge you, Dr. Chiuri, Joy, I'm gonna challenge you as leadership in that organization. There has to be a deliberate effort to include younger people. And when I say younger people, I mean people under the age of 30. Not even people in their 30s. I'm saying people under the age of 30. They may not have, the money that maybe One Voice Consortium is looking for investors to have right now. But we have to look at this in the long term. And we also have to look at it in a way that how are we going to connect? Some of these kids were born in the US, and they have
came here
no
when they were
incentive,
young,
or came here when they were very young, so they need a way to connect, And if we don't involve them, by involving them is not creating a program for them, is bringing them and being a blank slate and just listening to them.
And to add to that, I think also it's not just enough to have them wear a band that says Kenyan.
Yeah.
They also have to be presented an opportunity to be part of the process of let's say, you know, like where their parents come from. Because remember, these kids are not only American citizens here, but, you know, by virtue of, you know, the 2010 constitutions, they're also Kenyan citizens.
They extended, yeah.
You know, so it is important to let them know that, you know, you have two sides. You can flip a coin. You can choose, you know what, I want to go invest in Kenya. These are the good things about, you know, participating and joining. You know, it's good to have programs. It's good to have your friends. You guys are going for these other things. You know, some of the things that we probably may not be able to do. You know, just like, you know, when, remember, for us, our parents, you know, were not listening to Snoop Dogg and them, but guys, you know, they wanted us to listen to, you know, Frank Williams, Omosh, you know, your people over there. But I think
less Wanyika,
to afford them the opportunity to know that there is this part, be part of the program, you know, be part of this. You can be an investor, you can be part of, you know, One Voice, you can be a consultant or whatever, do your thing. You know, again, agriculture, like, you know, Daktari was saying, you know, there's so many, not just real estate, broti makuta makuta. It's not just that. There are other things that can be done. And I think it is important.
There's technology in farming, and a lot of them are in IT.
Exactly.
You know, we have just an example is John Deere. You know, has those automated trucks that now are plowing. You put the information in, and it's driverless, and it's working in Kenya, and you put it out there, and it plows. While you go, you do another chore, and you're looking through your phone, and everything is running, you know, on this tractor. So, and that sort of technology, a lot of these young guys are already in the field. They're the guys
they already are in there.
They're the guys doing the programming. This can be, you know, so that's just an example on the farming side, you know, and whatever other technologies are used for milking, for processing, you know, there's a whole lot.
There's you know, like Dr. was saying, you know, the blue economy, you know.
Correct.
Like there's so many things.
Artificial intelligence.
Exactly.
It's coming.
It is.
It's here.
It is. No, eco.
It's here. It's not even coming. It's here.
Yes.
And you have a lot of these young kids who, you know, like are studying in these fields. You know, some of them are already working. And there's a shortage. You know, like there's a shortage of certain skills of these very new fields that they can come and fill in. So if we talk to them in a way that has benefit to them, then I think, you know, like this tie between Kenya and the US, it's gonna be solidified, you know, for the next so many years. Look at what the Indians are doing, for example. Some of those companies that are being opened in Bangalore and in different parts of India where they're doing customer service jobs, they're doing, you know, like programming jobs.
Chennai.
A lot of them was, you know, like connections, of course, from some Indians who came here and some even who are born here.
Right.
You know, like they're still very connected to their motherland in very big ways.
Very huge ways.
And you're seeing them running organizations. You're seeing them running organizations not only, you know, back in their countries, you're seeing them running big organizations like Google here. There are so many Indian CEOs. You're seeing them as prime ministers of the United Kingdom. Just fairly recently, Scotland is also, I think in Scotland, it's a Pakistani, you know, who's becoming their prime minister. So there's something that we can learn from them, you know, and especially trying to connect the younger people, which has always been, there's always been a disconnect, which I've never quite come to put terms together with. And I think One Voice Consortium, Dr. Chiuri, as I give you a last opportunity to give us your parting shot, this is one challenge that I think your organization, or because you're dealing with so many other organizations, can take up. And we have these young people, we have this personnel who you need to, not to talk to, but to listen to. Dr. Chiuri.
Thank you. In fact, I wanted to respond on that issue of the young people and the youth very, very comprehensively here. In One Voice Consortium, we even have our youth league, young people that are under the age of 30. In fact, one of our greatest youth organization within One Voice is called Kenya Airlift Program. And I don't know whether you have captured them here before, OneMic, but these are people who are bringing our Kenyans here, who have studied in science, who have specialized in science. Kenya Airlift Program has now brought almost 1,000 Kenyans here in various universities around US. And actually they will be at the expo. Some of them want to come in and kind of get internship with various companies that are part of One Voice Consortium. So we have put together this program, not just for now, but even for our young people, so that they can be able to see the potentials that are here and be able to invest back home. Because if all the old people are going to go back to Kenya, who is going to be remitting money back home? Huh?
Wow.
It is these young people. Huh? So we must continue making that pipeline work. Huh?
Very true.
And that is why we need to make sure, just like what you have said, Ali, we need to continue encouraging our young people to take up these challenges of opening business outsourcing services, because the Indians did it. We can even be able to do it better, because you know what? We speak better English than them, huh? and so forth.
Absolutely. That, I mean, truth be said.
And therefore, we can actually be able to partner with many companies on just that score. And yet, we are very, very well skilled. So I think that is the way to go. Continue to encourage our young people to even also invest back home in areas that they can be able to do.
Okay, asante sana. Joy, we're going to give you the last word.
Asante, I just want to reiterate and say that DMV, District of Columbia, Maryland, Virginia, we have something for you during this event.
Don't leave out Delaware, because some of those Delaware guys might feel some kind of way. But yeah.
Okay, Delaware tumeongezea.
AKA Rongai.
Rongai DMV.
Akina Washibo.
Yeah.
So what
Yes.
I would like to say as a parting shot, we have everything that everybody will enjoy at the conference. We have the Mugithi night, the Rumba on the Saturday evening. We have the hors d'oeuvres on the Friday night. And we're also going to have the Sunday where we're going to have the Kigosho, just in case we have pastors within DMV or any other visiting pastors. Sheikhs, Ndugu Ali.
More mnatusahau. But it's okay. It's okay. That's a conversation for another session. Yeah.
Sawa, sawa.
Yeah, because
before-
mara nyingi.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before we wind, Ali, I want to thank all of you at OneMic Show. We really appreciate this. We really appreciate this. And we look at an opportunity of OneMic Show partnering with the OVC. Perhaps even during the expo, we can have a small place for you where you can be able to do your show from the show. Huh?
A show from the show. Okay.
Exactly. Huh?
Yeah.
How about that?
That's
So that
that's a good
many
challenge.
people can even know OneMic Show and be able to also connect the business and so forth. So again, this is something that we want to partner with you and work with you as we continue to bring diaspora unity together. This is all about unity and being that bee that is working hard to take back honey back home. Huh?
Okay.
Home, which is Kenya. Huh?
All right.
So
Asante sana,
that is
Dr.
what we are doing.
Chiuri.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Joy, remind people where can they get the tickets, and just for those who maybe joined in late, what are the dates for the event?
And maybe a number or an email people can reach out if they want more information.
Thank you. The event is going to be held at the Hilton Hotel in DC, Rockville Metro Center. And the website is www.onevoiceconsortium.org. World Wide Web, onevoiceconsortium.org. That's where the event is going to be held. And all the details are on the website. We keep on updating. Please, if you can visit the website, you'll be able to register yourself. If you want to be a vendor or you want to participate in any capacity, if you want to sponsor us to become one of the main speakers, or at least even attend any one of the panels, kindly visit the One Voice Consortium website.
All right. And with that said, this is it for now. But later in sports, it's do or die for the Kenya Sevens rugby team in Singapore. Join us to find out if Shujaa will survive relegation. So I want you to stay tuned for that. And for those on YouTube, your stream will come to an end, but you can join us right here on Facebook for the rest of the show. Once again, I want to thank you, Joy, and I also want to thank you, Dr. Chiuri, for joining us in this session. Na mimi ni mtangazaji wenu Ali Badawy, aka Mjukuu wa Masai, and you're still tuned in to the OneMic show.
Ladies and gentlemen, mabibi na mabwana, this is still a non-call presentation of the OneMic show. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend that the people's Kamkunji is still in full effect. A DJ machachari boda boss kave. Twende kazi.
Sikofete. 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 I take a day at a time, hoping that all of this will be over. And a step at a time, hoping he will show up Nikiomba. I've been